You ever feel like just when you're stepping into purpose, opposition slams you from every side? Yeah, I've been there. Birthing purpose, building a dream, or simply moving forward after setbacks comes at a cost. But hear me clearly. Opposition isn't always proof you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it's actually confirmation you're on the right path. Let me tell you my story. Recently, I had a brief yet powerful text convo with a dear friend about the resistance that comes with walking in our God-given calling. And trust me, I've lived it. One of those moments hit while building what I call my book baby. Right here at this beach, I hit a major snag. At first, I chose a different illustrator for my book. Facts, I didn't use AI to write it, but I thought maybe AI would be a cost-effective way to illustrate it. Well, let's just say cheaper isn't always better. The images lacked soul. The characters weren't consistent from page to page. It just wasn't right. Discouraged? Yes. Did I feel delayed? Absolutely. But defeated? Not a chance. Let me pause and say this to someone right now. Just because it's taken longer for you than expected doesn't mean it's not what God intended. God gave this story during a fast, so I knew he would guide how if I stayed faithful to the why. I dug deep, prayed hard, and kept looking, and then I found the right illustrator. But I didn't just find him. God prepared him. See, in 2017, during one of the hardest seasons of my life, I was facing my own attacking and opposing waves while stepping into destiny, a destiny that involved all I'm doing now, actually: speaking, writing, teaching, mentoring, mothering, physical illness, emotional and spiritual setbacks. It felt like wave after wave, but just like the character in my book, Olivia and even Grandma Rose, I had to be brave. Brave with faith. Not just a faith that prays, but one that praises and keeps going, that lifts her gaze above the waves and says, God, your presence is what brings me peace. In Isaiah 43, it says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm. And so his presence was with me, so the waves didn't overwhelm me in 2017. You see, what God says in Jeremiah 11:29 isn't mere hyperbole. It is my lived reality and can be yours as well. He had a plan to prosper me and not to harm me, to give me a hope and a future even back then. He was making a way out of seemingly no way, paving the way with an illustrator who I would meet one July 2024 day. And now I'm back at it, speaking, writing, mentoring, mothering, considering it pure joy that I faced those trials because they produced something weightier in me. Perseverance, character, maturity in my faith that inspires me to pray, and not just pray, but to praise in the midst of life's waves. And listen, don't just take it from me. Here's what Bill Johnson says about the oppositions that comes against purpose or calling.
There's a fight involved in obtaining what you were born for. And oftentimes as believers, we interpret that the fight means we're doing something wrong. Matthew 13 says, when opposition comes because of the word, in other words, the word over your life actually attracts conflict because we never know the strength of God's word over our lives until it's opposed. It's in the opposing of the destiny of our life that we find out how real that promise was. And discovering the strength of the word is something that reinforces our own faith, our own devotion to the purposes of God.
Now, here's the part that gave me chills. When I finally connected with my current illustrator, I asked about his journey as a professional artist, and get this. He had made a bold pivot into art around the same time I was facing those 2017 waves, a month prior, in fact. He left security of a confident paycheck to follow purpose and increase provision for his family, even when others said he was making a huge mistake. What does that tell me? That God was already orchestrating the solution in 2017 during my darkest days. Friend, I can't make it up. I really hope this encourages you, and this too. Way before Zacchaeus wanted to see Jesus, a tree was planted to meet his need. If God hasn't yet answered your prayer, just know somewhere a tree has been planted. You see, my illustrator was literally planted into his purpose during the season of my greatest adversity. For years, my faith was tested. Oh, but it was not arrested, but actually being perfected. James 1:2-4 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brother and sister, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." That kind of completion, it's peace. Shalom, nothing missing, nothing lacking, and it is a journey. Because purpose comes under opposition and pressure, but that pressure builds faith. Faith that led me to pray, but again, it didn't stop there. It compelled me to lift my gaze from the problem and up to the one who could solve them. In so doing, I had to remind myself of who God was and who he would be for me again and again. An ever-present help when waves came crashing in. That is how I experienced the peace that surpasses understanding in the face of the attacking oppositions to my purpose. The peace Grandma Rose in my book and even Olivia faced. It was peace that came with an awareness of his presence as they pressed forward towards purpose. It's the type of peace that helps you to press on despite the pressures, to panic, or even to pause. So friends, let me leave you with this. When oppositions come, pray, praise, and press on with faith. I don't just write about it in my book. I've had to live it, practice it in my life. Because when opposing or attacking waves arise and we rise despite, we raise a generation to rise and take flight. Your courage, your obedience, your story, it's not just for you. It's for the ones watching you, learning from you, coming after you. Those who will face their own oppositions to purpose too. Your testimony may be the key to their breakthrough. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony of what that blood makes available for us. But we need to press on. If this encouraged you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's battling through opposing waves, but still believing. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more stories that remind you to rise with faith. Let's show the next generation how to be brave despite life's opposing waves. Subscribe. See you next time.